This is Hector's 350Z main gauge cluster. We're going to put RGB lights in it by remote control. And here's a stock cover. And here's your PC board, which I've removed some of the LEDs, not the ones on the needle stems of the stepper motors. We will be changing those LEDs to white and put white needles on it. And then we've started to cut out, if you remember what the stock one looked out, cut this one out, you see. So we've got a lot of space here, and this little tray will be cut out as well. Cut the dots out. And then on the back side, it'll need channels for where the LED strips go. And that's quite a long process. Sorry, wasn't looking at my through my camera here. And then here I have another. I got to put up your cluster, your PC board over here without dropping it. Here we have another PC board from a 350Z, and this one is the one I'm using. I've used this board for so much stuff. It's like my little 350Z workbench. So I can solder wires on here without dripping a drop of, I didn't drip any solder tonight, but you know, or burn a place. So build the RGB strips, LED strips on this spare, and then I will move this as one piece over to your PC board, and that's a real bitch to do. Let me tell you that. It's hard to keep them all straight or whatever, but that's just part of it. And then wire here, I will cut a little place on the white plastic cover so our wires go out. And then let's see, and this one has more. Got a lot of bright lights here. This one has more LEDs than any other 350Z in the world, I do believe. Yeah. So, if you look at my old stuff, I had like one strip or whatever. Let's see if I can see this in the camera. Well, okay, there's blue. Don't know if what my focus is like. Green and red. And of course, there's a zillion other colors here as well. I like the aqua myself, or purples and stuff. It's hard to look at the camera and work the remote control. And then it will do stuff, you know, it'll do little tricks and things you can program in there. So anyway, here's your first video of your cluster. Let's put it back to white. There it is. So it's just going to be enormously bright, but there is a you can fade the brightness down, which making this not as bright will let your needles be brighter in contrast to this. So we'll after we put it together, I'll show you. But you know, you'll find a comfortable place where to run the brightness. And that's about it. So there you go. There's your first update, Hector, and it's going to look great. All right, then. All right, it's been a few days or maybe even more, Hector. Here's your project. This is going to be your gauge clusters PC board. You see I've put white tape all over it. So then when we put, if I can do this while filming, yeah, this over, then we'll it'll all be a nice white reflection, and that way, like if you have a white LED but you have the green background, well then it looks green. And for my friend in Abu Dhabi who has Miro's old 350Z, here I'll have to look, it's pretty bright. Here's the shift light. All this is LED pot 205, and one of those two solder points, or one of the two solder points that hold the PLCC2 LED. You want one of those solder points is either broke off, like the little wires come off, or it's a bad LED. That's all it is, dude. No programming or anything. It's just manual. Okay, and what I have for you now, the reason I'm back on this working now, we have your new lenses and a case I just got from eBay. And ooh, well, it's a little dusty. It's a little dusty. You have to be real careful wiping that or you scratch it. But that lens doesn't have any scratches. Top again's dusty because it's out of a crash car. No scratches. It's going to be real nice. So there's your update, and I'm about to take all the LEDs off this PC board right here, and then I'm going to put them on the real one. This is my little work gauge PC board I always use. And I'm fixing to move all these to the other cluster, which is a scary deal because you got to move them all the time. See, I kind of have them taped together, but still, it's a little stressful, but and out of focus. But there's your update. That's what I'm about to do, is move those to the other gauge cluster main PC board, and we will be in operation. There should be LEDs right there. Oh, I see. They're hanging by the wire underneath. Oh, well, I had better put up the camera there. See, well, don't want to scratch that. But the LEDs that are here, gone under the PC board. So, anyway, that's your update, Hector. Alright, Hector, it's been a few days since I've talked with you on the email. I've pretty much done with this now. Well, I'll show you. I'll have leaks to fix, but it's a very slow process of getting these, you know, if they're off, pushed up or down a little off where they should be, then the top won't close. Because it's a very, let me get the top, it's a very slow process to cut these little channels so the lights go through here and the top can close. What I've got here, I don't know if I had it the other day, I have an automatic top white cover, and that way we can repair the shift light. I can't tell you how many times something like that, a little solder point will come undone or something, and it's just a bitch to get the thing apart. So it just lays on there real smooth now. So there's a little pressure holding this side up, but I think when I get the screw in that goes right in here, it'll close up just fine. Let's turn it on if I can. Yeah. Turn off the lights here a little bit. Some of the lights, a couple of lights. It'll be great. You have to put the LED in there and set your mileage tonight. And I have the gauge face here as well. Let's turn off the lights. You see a little better. Got the 24 hours of Le Mans going, and it's sunrise over there in Europe. So, of course, this wouldn't be as bright. Oh, I didn't show you. I made a cut on yours that nobody else has had. It'll be a little hard to see, but right here, right in there, and there's an LED right there that lights up the 0 miles an hour, because usually that's real dim. See, that's a little dimmer. Usually on a 350Z those are dim, but that's nice, and it's all real smooth. Let's see here. Yeah, man. So gonna put the screws in the back. There's a metal plate on the back with a piece of plastic under it, and I'm going to get this mounted correctly. and then it will be sometime fixing leaks. Now you see right in here there shouldn't be any light, but there's a little leak. That one looks pretty good. Don't know on this, can't really see through the camera, but that's why some of these LEDs have black tape on them, you see, to keep them from leaking into the gauge LED or whatever. So, making progress. I'm not sure. Let's see, it's 1:35. Might finish this tonight. Oh my God, there's a Texas. Where'd he go? There's a big Texas mosquito just flew in. It's going to be battle with him. So, all right, I'm off to war. I'll be back. All right, Hector, here's what I have going today. I was going to set the placement of the shift light on your main cluster and went out. My car is dead as a doornail. It's totaled and it's been sitting there. So it's on the battery tender. In fact, we'll just go take a look at that monster. Well, it's a little too dark out there. Just look at my motor. Anyway, let's see. This is your center gauges, which I thought I'd do while we went on the car to charge to test the big one. This is the LCD cover, which goes for your LCD right there. And what I've done, I've got a glass of water and some fine wet sandpaper. And then you take the side of this that has the little tits on it, pardon my expression, but anyway, and you sand that off. Don't want to sand it too much, but you want to get the yellow off there so it can be a different color. And then we're going to take, and I tested it out in the car with the battery tender on there. I was able to start the car and check, make sure the needles worked okay. And fixing to take this apart, and we'll put some LED strips in there. I think one strip with 6 LEDs is what I use. In fact, I'm going to go to my YouTube channel right now and see if I can find out what I've done in the past. All right, man. Went out to the car to test our shift light. If I can get that thing in focus. Which was good. Good. Got your LCD in, everything. However, and it's a flippin' bummer, let me tell you. Glad I didn't record the words I was saying a few minutes ago. What is that? That's the temperature gauge and the fuel gauge. Those two white LEDs are not lighting up. Flip. Man, I'm sure that I tested them before. So it means I've got to take this thing apart, and then of course, there's going to be tape and the LEDs and stuff. Can't put a hot solder iron with those LED strips in there. So what I'm hoping, gosh, I don't know. I'm hoping that that one of these two LEDs is grounded out by maybe the metal part on the back of one of those LED strips. Let's see, where is one? I don't have one handy, but so I had to put the your center gauge, which is right here. I was working on that, but we'll just have to put that to the side till we figure this out. Man, is that going to be some work. Okay, well, I'm going to take this guy apart and see what we can find out. Okay, at present, my working theory, and I believe this is right, my 66-year-old memory is working correctly. These two needle LEDs, they share a ground. They also share a ground with the LED that was right up here, which I removed. So, those won't light, because I just tested them with that ohm meter. They light up fine. So, but when you plug it in the car and you turn the car ignition on, they don't light up. So, there's a problem. And I'm almost 100% sure, in fact, somebody was here to bet me, I'd put $100 down on the table. I think if I replace the LED that was under these and just cover it up with tape, those two should light up. So it's not quite as bad. I mean, I had thoughts of, oh no, man, I'm going to have to get another gauge and just start over. Because I spent a lot of time getting, it's just a time-consuming project. So I'm going to try with my little 90-degree awl here to get under the tape and pull only this section back. Depends where that LED is. Solder a new white LED in there, and then put this tape and the RGB strips back on. I truly hope that's what we're going to find out here in just a few minutes. So that's what's going on tonight. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. Just shining off my steering wheel. I've got the lights working now. Man, I believe it's either that one or that one, that those two are tied to via the ground. But I put in, let's see, this guy, that guy, and those two. Put in 4. Have one here, but it's not lighting up. But that's okay, because all these lights are going to be covered with white tape. And, man, what a hassle. So, I've taken all the RGBs off. So, a couple of days of getting that all straightened out and blah, blah, blah. So, onward through the fog I go, man. All right. All right, it's been quite a few days. I got depressed and put this thing aside. I don't know where I stopped recording last time. These two LEDs for the fuel and temperature were not lighting up for the needles. After I'd put white tape over it, put the LED strips back on. I thought it was a ground problem, because these two LEDs are tied with this one. They're all 3 in a line, but these two weren't lighting up, and I thought, well, what's the deal? Because it's been a while since I've worked on a 350Z gauge cluster, and I thought, well, maybe it's tied to that one. So I took it all apart, put that LED in there. They worked. Put tape back on it, put the LED strips back on, go out to the Z to test the shift light, and they're not working. I have some choice words about this, but I'll just spare you folks. I'm sure you can imagine. What it turned out to be was the solder point on the temperature LED on the back side. When I solder these, I can't see the back side. The solder on the LED and the solder on the PC board were only touching. They weren't, it didn't melt. So it was like this. Sometimes it would light up, sometimes it wouldn't. Would not, sorry, excuse me. So I fixed that in about 3 seconds with just a little more solder, fixed. Then I took, and what I'd done chasing this problem, I'd put all the LEDs back on the thing stock, just like, okay, let's make sure it works. And once I found the problem, then I took all these LEDs back off, used the desolder wick, and flattened it out real smooth. Now I'm about to retape the thing and put the LED strips back on. So one little solder connection caused about a week of delay on this. But I'm happy now, and here we go. Okay, have all this reworked and redone. See if I can see the remote. There's blue, green, and red. And the rest of the colors come from combinations of those. And worked more on the, let's see, now it's just doing stuff by itself. I can speed that up or slow it down or whatever. So anyway, not to get carried away on lighting effects, have this complete, and I have our LED right here on the RPM. I've put a little bit of black tape on about 1/4 of that LED. It's really hard to get that right, and that to dim that LED, the white one down a little bit. It's doing psychedelic. I see. They call that auto, so it's just running through the programs it has. Whew. You might wreck your car if you set it on that setting, Hector. So anyway, it just dims the center LED, white LED down, so the shift light is more effective. And I'll tell you something: when you get this, it's so bright that you'll have to dim it down a little bit to see the shift light, which I'm about to go to the car and set. I've actually got to screw this together and put the LCD in. But I think in my little cutout I did down here, I think it's going to help 160 and 0 on your speedometer. I can't stand that. Let me change that. Thanks. I'm going to put this guy together, and it's been a long process, but it's looking real good, and the face is laying nice and flat. And that's about the most time-consuming operation, is cutting these little channels in here, so the LED strips go smoothly down there. And well, not only that, because this sticks up, all this sticks up, it makes the the needles farther away than on a stock one. If you get a stock face, here's my little stock face to check, stick this guy on there, you see that the needles, where's the camera lens? Viewfinder. Oh, okay. Ow, see? it's sticking up almost out of the little bezel there, and here, no, it's down about 1/4, 1/8 of an inch. I'd made one of these one time where I totally cut that ring off, but then what did it do? It did something weird. It wouldn't hold up the gauge face, and it all kind of sagged a little. And I tested this one. If I just get it on there correctly, I probably wouldn't even point the camera the right way. Got to make sure the needle moves freely. The wires on the shift light, they'll just barely clear that little well, not the needle stem, but your little plastic right there. So anyway, enough BS. Back to work. All right, this thing's looking good. I want you to tell you how proud I am of the 160 and the 0. See how that's nice and smooth? That's a little suspect. Don't really have an LED for that. Let's see how red looks. And you can tell this is looking a little magenta because of my blue overhead lights. And then that looks orange, but my camera always has an orange tint to it. A guy explained it to me a year or two ago. But anyway, that you can look that up on the camera optics thing. Let's see here. Where's my little remote receiver? Oh, there it is. Stand by, people. All right. Woo! Man, does that look pretty in person? Looks better on the eye than it does to the camera. There's our green, and our all red, and our white. It has a little tint of blue to it, but the transparency can't be totally clear, or you'd see the LEDs. This is my favorite here. That one right there, turquoise. Anyway, just about have this thing together. I'm about to get a set of needles and go out and set the mile an hour. And I forgot, I had trouble again. There's a little light, white light coming through here, and I kept putting black tape on there, and I got a different LCD and all kinds of stuff. No, what it is, it's the light traveling through the center section. See, that's black, or color on one side, color on the other, but inside, it's a 3-layer thing. Inside is the transparency. So it's traveling through the transparency. Oh my gosh. It's so bright. That is just so bright. This has more LEDs than any Z in the world, I guarantee. There's not another Z. Whoa. You're going to have to dim this thing down. You never, oh man, you will never see the street. It's so bright. So let's see, we lost one LED over here. I forget what it is. I think that's the seat belt light, but that's where the strip goes, so it can't be helped. But I've got all the bleeding into these and through these. I've got tape on the inside here. Looking great. I've got your, let's see where that face is. Got your face cut out for the shift light. Let's see, I've got a little notch cutting that. And there that baby is. Oh, it's nice to start my Z after so long. It's been wrecked for almost a year. About ready to collect on this thing. And on my neck, which got screwed up in the wreck. So, I'm going to turn off the camera. I'm going to get some needles. And I guess I'll plug my cluster, where it is, it's right there, back in so I can see how much fuel it has. I usually fill it up and then set the fuel. But I don't think I'm going to drive my wrecked car all the way to the station. I think I'm just going to set the I can set all these needles, temperature, fuel, and RPM sitting in the driveway. But for your mile an hour, I'll have to get out and go at least 35 miles an hour in it. So, onward we go. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's see. So, we've got a 12-volt plug. It's out in the car. It plugs in your 12-volt system. There's 3 or 4 of them on the 350Z. I think we have 3. And then this little guy, this black little guy, this is the IR receiver for your remote control. If the remote control can't see that guy, no good. So the panel, you'll figure it out, but the panel under the steering wheel, this fits perfectly right beside the thing. You point it up at the dash anywhere and it'll pick up the signal. And then I just have this little test board. This will be up under your steering wheel. It tells me when I'm building this stuff that yeah, the power's good and we have red, green, and blue. And then we have my little Y that I made. Okay, that's going to go under the steering wheel, and quite along, and then one side of the Y goes to the center cluster, and it has a long enough cable to snake it around through to the proper placement. And then there is a very short cable which will plug into the main gauge cluster. It'll all become clear as a bell once you have this. And just for you DIY guys, what did I do with them? Okay. Here, where are they? Yeah, right here. Okay. Here is a Nissan center gauge cluster needle. Okay. Note how short the plastic needle stem is on the bottom. See what I mean? Okay. These are from a 1990 to 1996 Maxima Nissan. It still has the stem in it from the stepper motor. Pulled the whole thing out. And although you might not be able to see it on the camera, let's get some contrast. Okay, you see that plastic under the needle cap is longer. Okay, now I've tried cutting those before, but it really screws up the roundness, of course, of where this stepper motor needle goes. So what I've found over the years is if I take where's one? Okay, just take a whole 350Z gauge face and just cut a piece of it out. See, I'll cut the bottom with that. Throw that trash away. And use a little super glue and glue some of the 2 pieces from the main cluster on there when we put the top on. And this top's not very clean. I just looked. It's the only one I have. I may try and clean this lens, but it might be easier for you to unsnap your cover for these gauges and put yours on. Whichever one lens looks the best, use that. And I'll try and clean this one up. But anyway, when you put this on, if you're using the extra deep needle, the needles, then they will rub on that top piece and the gauges will stick. It's kind of like the Speedo needle in the main cluster. So I've learned just to glue super once you do it, you're there. Glue a little of the other gauge face on with super glue, and that little, I don't know, 1/16 or 32nd of an inch is enough to where the needles will pass once you put it together. So, last step for this guy is to go to the car. I warmed it up a while ago, but I bet it's gone cold now. And let the car get warm. turn it off, turn it back on, let it go to idle, and then set this guy at the correct PSI and this guy at the correct voltage, and we'll be ready to put this guy together and ship it off to you. Alright, I know I'm a little slow, but there's a lot to do here when you're building one of these things, and there's other things in life going on. So, that's it for now. Alright, well, remember the other day I said I didn't want to take this apart. Well, guess what? I forgot to put white LEDs by the needle stepper motor stems. So, those were orange when I went out to the car. What a bummer. So, anyway, now that I've taken it apart, it's just a 9-strip, some wires to a 3-strip. And then you just have to cut a little bit of the plastic out, like right here. See, there's a notch for that to fit in right there. It just sticks out a little to the outside, but what's in the cover, you'll be fine. So, just need to remove the tape and replace these LEDs with white LEDs. So, back to the drawing board one more time we go. Alright, I have our center 3 gauges torn apart again, and our LED rolled up here. Let's get out of the way and the tape removed. Let's see if I can get a focus. And you'll see here there are 4 solder pads on each one of these, and you just have to find out which one's the hot, which is, looking at it, it's the bottom on the left, and then the rest are ground. So the 350Z comes with, can I focus it enough? Can you be able to see it? Man, my eyes are too old. There are 4 solder points on a PLCC4, but I use the PLCC2, which, if I flip it over, only has 2 solder points. It makes it a little easier, actually. And then, so I just do a 3-pointed solder where I hot lead here, and then both of those solder pots I have joined the solder together, so I have like a oval shaped one, and there's the stock one. So just going to replace these 2 and put this guy back together. There you go. Alright, finally got this thing going. Let's see. Finally finished this guy. I spent all night tonight cutting plastic there. I couldn't get the needles. The PC board was about an 1/8 an inch out of the range it should have been, and the needles weren't working right. So spent all night doing that. I have to put that guy in a case. But basically, other than doing our window switches, LEDs. Let's see if I can find my remote. Uh-oh, dropped it. Here it is. I can tell which way's up. Stand by. Okay, turn that guy off. Or with the LEDs on. There's white and blue and green and red, and of course you can make all your different other colors from those 3. Sorry, it's a pretty shoddy camera work tonight. It's been a long night. Now, I will say this, they're dimmed down, and if you brighten these guys up, where's the brighten switch? Yeah, let's see. Oh, there it is. I mean, they just get ridiculously bright. Okay, so and the camera adjusts to it somewhat to keep it all in the same range. But man, you put them in that bright. Let's see here. Let's stand out of the crashed 350Z. See, they're mighty bright even when you're outside. They're just mighty bright. And so I'm gonna I don't know, I'll probably make a video for you, and we'll see. You have to have them dimmed down. The shift light still works, but it doesn't have as much effect unless that's dimmed down. And I'll make a YouTube video for you before I ship this off. Make sure you're happy, and probably Probably won't do the door lights till tomorrow night. It's about 2:30 or 3, I think. All right then. All right, Hector, last video for this project. Put the case on your lights, center lights, and they look just fine. Needles work fine. I would just say, oh, this one has a little crack right here, this lens cover. So, and it's got some smudges. We're not really seeing it now, but there are some smudges of the previous owner. I don't know why. But it cleaned up just fine. You probably won't notice that. Haven't cleaned that yet. I'll clean that little thing. What I wanted to show you here is on your Elco E3 connectors. Here's the one from your center cluster. I don't want to take the thing out of the car. I'm about to pack it up, but I thought I would demonstrate. I really need 3 hands, but let's see if we can hold it with my knees. I have to take the strap off my shoulder. Oh, what great camera work. Okay, that's not too bad. Probably out of focus. Holding with my knees, sir. You can pull them apart like this, but they're pretty tough. What you don't want to do is pull by the wires. So what I use is a 90-degree awl, and there's a little gap of light right here. Just get anything, small screwdriver, and they'll just snap right apart like that, see? And that way there's no, oops, we're almost out of the camera view. And just put anything in there in this little window. Where is it? It's right there. And put a little leverage to it. Uh-oh, dropped my awl. Don't want to lose that. They don't make these anymore. They make a newer version, which is a piece of, well, it's not as good as this one. So that's my favorite tools in the world. So useful. So anyway, just unsnap them with a little screwdriver. Uh-oh, it looks like the battery camera is dying. So, and that's it. It's been a fun project. Took a long time to do, but you absolutely have the brightest 350Z gauges in the world. There's no doubt about that. So you should be proud. And I'm going to go edit this video. I've made it too long. It's like 45 minutes long now. So I'm going to put this clip in there, and I'm going to cut a bunch of stuff out because it's just too much. All right, Hector, thank you very much for the order. It's been a lot of fun working on your project, sir.